Hello everybody, it's me, Coffee Stitcher. It is Sunday. Ooh, so that means it's video time. Apparently my laptop decided that it was going to just suddenly start updating itself randomly. So we're gonna be using the iPad for my Q&A today. And for that I do apologize for having to hold that up, but it's the only way I can do this today while I wait for this thing to install. And since it's doing that, I actually am going to real quick just plug the laptop back in. Because I don't know what happened. It's installing, and it says it has about 47 minutes remaining. Which really makes me hopeful that my laptop isn't dying. Because that would be really bad, because I can't afford a new one right now. I mean, I don't really use my laptop for much, but that would still be really bad. So, anyhow, moving right on along, how is everybody today? It's good to hear. I'm drinking from my Hogwarts mug, because it was owls this last week, and I finished them all. Woo woo! And yes, there were changes to my owls, as was to be expected, because it's me. Anyhow, so we'll hop on into the Q&A. I actually have some haul this week. Then I'll show you what I worked on, and then we've got the next homework assignment, so I'll show you what that one's going to be. All the while, we'll just let my computer do its thing. So, Q&A. The first one comes from Patty Ernest, and she says, "Can you tell us again where you got the Wizard of Oz pattern?" It is from Owl Forest Embroidery. It is a freebie. A new part comes out every 3 weeks. So we may be getting the new part this week. Since the move, I've been a little off on my when everything comes out. I'm actually going to double check that just real fast. There we go. Refresh the page. Oh, well, it says August 4th, which has come and gone. Let's see, the last... Okay, so August 4th. So, yes, the next one is this weekend. And I have no idea what it'll be. It'll be a surprise for all of us. Nicole Curley, the Magical Stitches, it's still going on, so you can still definitely join and participate. It's been fun having done it from the beginning of the year, but I didn't really start doing it full out until, like, April. So... for those curious, the Fuzz on the Floor was actually a broken piece of an eagle wing, like, figurine. So it was actually nothing bad or dangerous. It just looked a little odd. Myra Lewis, you actually have me confused with Drew Weasley. I don't remember what his username was on here, but you've got us confused. I haven't gone anywhere. I've been doing weekly videos, and I was not and am not affiliated with StitchCon in any capacity. But I did pass the message on to him. Jody Bedard would like to know where I purchased my Soda Stitch patterns from. I've gotten some from Jeannie's Cross Stitch before, or Jeannie's Cross Stitch. Primarily, though, I get from the lovely Trisha at 3L Threads, because she's one of the few, if not the only, U.S. distributor for Soda Stitch. And then she also asks, have you ever tried using Classic Colorworks Belle Soie Silk? Is there a big difference from DMC? I've used it once or twice in small things, but not enough to really have a good feel for it. My LNS doesn't stock it, so I only ever got it if it came in a stitchy box. So I don't really have a way to compare. Because it is silk, it is going to be different than the cotton. But by how much, I don't really totally know. Because again, I haven't used it enough to really have a fair feel for it. I'm personally not the world's biggest fan of Classic Colorworks, but we'll get to that in a little bit. Stitching Daisy would like to know, how do you keep track of what you're stitching and when? Do you keep track of all your whips and finishes? For magical stitches, we have to do a certain amount of stitches, usually a week, so I kind of track it there. We have a whip album that I update as I make reasonable amounts of progress on. Keyword reasonable amounts. So that's kind of how I keep track of it. Finishes, not really. I'll look back sometimes at the end of the year and go, oh, I had X number of finishes this year. But to me, it's more about the journey and less about the finish. So, yeah. Alright, so haul this week. First, I got my Fabric of the Month from Under the Sea Fabrics. And this month, it's Selkie, and I went with the linen option because I liked the way it dyed better on the linen. And it's sort of a nice brownish, grayish neutral. My piece isn't quite as heavily grayed as some of the others, but you can sort of see some of the gray streaks running through it. But there it is. Apparently my husband's watching I Love Lucy. I just heard Lucille Ball's scream. Alright, so there's Selkie, and then I got my first project bags from So Much to Love. Carrie, you know who you are, Carrie, was the one who turned me on to it because this really adorable new Wizard of Oz fabric came out. So I got the Sidekick. I'll show you the fabric a little bit better in a second. But the inside's super nice. I've never ordered from her before, but the Sidekick is for your tools. And then the project bag itself, I got the one that'll hold an 8x11 Q-snap because I just couldn't afford to get the bigger one. As much as I would have liked to, I just couldn't afford it. But look, it's got, there's the wizard and a flying monkey and the scarecrow and the lion. And there's Dorothy and Toto and the Wicked Witch and Glinda and the silver shoes and the Tin Man. And she's got nice, the Yellow Brick Road fabric. And again, very nicely put together. It's got stars on the inside. And then what I also thought was super cool was you got this little baggie with information about, with your invoice, as well as a little info card, and a little tea bag. And I love ginger peach tea, which not a lot of people know. So that was kind of exciting. So I obviously have not had my tea yet. I tend to prefer tea more as we get on towards winter, because right now it's 115 degrees in Texas, and that's a little warm for hot tea. So I just have to sort of assuage my British side. So that was my haul for the week. My guess is probably this week I'll get my nest egg from Trisha. We shall see, though. I know it all depends for her on when Gentle Arts actually gets the thread to her. So we shall see. And this thing is not up now. Now it's down to 46 minutes, 9 minutes later. So I have a feeling I'm just going to be leaving this thing on all day and checking in on it periodically. It's really my fault. I think, honestly, it just was like, you need to do updates. You're going to update it now. Because I'm really bad about that. That's okay. Alright, so this week's homework assignment in Magical Stitches was Owls. Ordinary Wizarding levels. So we had to do 7 core classes and 3 electives. 200 stitches each if we wanted full points. So I worked my tuchus off, and I got, most of them I averaged right around 200 stitches on. So I was literally doing about 400 stitches a night to get through it. So, without further ado, and in alphabetical order, which is how I worked on it, I did Search the Sky for Astronomy, because it has a moon. So 200 stitches, finished out the walls of the house and the door. This is by Waxing Moon Designs, and I got 208 stitches in. And all because of the back stitch, because I really didn't want to start another color unless I had to. Now this next project got used twice. Got used for charms. It's Nutcracker from Soda Stitch. And I counted 202 before I paused, before I worked on it the next time. So there we go. I still have to backstitch him, but backstitching only every 2 back stitches counts as 1 full stitch, and I didn't want to have to try and figure out the math of that. So I was just like, you know what, we're going to leave it. I will backstitch him later. There we go. So I did 200 stitches. I also used Nutcracker for Transfiguration. My reasoning, the charms, because of the Sugar Plum Fairy, she has a wand, she charms things, and the Transfiguration, the Nutcracker was transfigured from a prince into a gigantic Nutcracker. Also, the candy had to be charmed to dance, so there we go. So you've already seen that one there. For Defense Against the Dark Arts, I had a new start. It was Espresso Patronum. And I got my little... So I did the coffee mug. That was 212 stitches. So this one will be a quick stitch. It's gonna, I'm sure, pop up again because it's got a lot of color changes in it. And it's Hogwarts theme, Harry Potter theme, so if we ever have to have one that's specifically for that. Alright, Herbology was another new start. It was Needles Dance, and this was an exclusive from Hands-On Design, Ink Circles, and Summerhouse Stitchworks. And it was a kit. It's only available through local needlework stores. I don't think 123 Stitch even had it. I think you actually had to go to a brick-and-mortar store or order from a brick-and-mortar store if you can't get to a physical one. I know my LNS had a couple left. I don't know which color because it came in 2 colorways. You could either do the dark one, which is what I'm doing, or the light one, which I don't know anyone who actually did. So, but here it is. It's with Classic Colorworks. And I did 205 stitches. And the reason I say I'm not a big fan of Classic Colorworks is it's not terribly variegated. Like, at all. So, if it were me, I probably would have either picked other colors or I would have just done a DMC conversion. Now, that said, the Classic Colorworks, because they aren't as variegated as, say, Week's Original Arts, they do sometimes have colors in a range that DMC doesn't have. So they can be good for that. I will say that. But in general, they're not really my favorite. So, but I really like the pattern. It's a lot of fun. And I think it's going to be really cool when I finish it. Alright. For History of Magic, I did Atlantis by Owl Forest Embroidery. Now, fortunately, Magical Stitches allows us to count frog stitches, because I was working on my jellyfish, and I was making really good progress, and I realized that I had to unstitch about 58 stitches. So, I've still got to do a little bit more over here to fix, because I miscounted, but that's where I got on the jellyfish. I'd gotten farther before I had to stop. Story of my life. That was a strange noise. I hope everything's okay. I don't hear screaming, so... video's almost over. The dryer may also be about to cut off. If you hear the dryer go off, in our new apartment, the laundry room is actually in our bedroom, sort of. Like, see, that's the bedroom door, and not this door, that's my stitching area, but the one there, that's our laundry room. So if you hear the buzzer go off, it's the dryer. I'm sorry, I can't really do much about that. Sunday is laundry day. So that was History of Magic. And I got exactly 200. For potions, I worked on Universal Monster Sal, because the Invisible Man who's over here has a potions lab. So, so that was my core homework. So the next one was the electives. I chose runes, care of magical creatures, and Muggle studies. So I finished my core ones on Thursday, which meant I had Friday, Saturday, Sunday to work on my other three. And I decided initially what I was going to do on those was just pick, each day I was just going to work on one, and however much I got done, I got done. But, so my first change, originally I was going to do Sarah Davis, but instead I really wanted to work on Count Your Blessings. So I did. So I got around 300 stitches on it, but I got the walls of the house finished and the little pathway to the house done. And this is, for those of you who don't know, this is the, oh, nope, that would be my working copy. There's the full pattern, and Runes has letters, so, letters. But, and it's interesting, the house is much more blue on the, model than it is on mine, and I'm not sure if it's because my, old blue paint wasn't as blue, or if it's because, since I'm doing it on a bluish fabric, did the blue end up coming off more gray. But I like it. I think it looks good. So, but I really like this piece. And once the house itself is done, I can actually work on the piece sort of in quarters. So, the house will be done, and then I'm going to quarter it off from there and work on quarters at a time. Alright, then for Care of Magical Creatures, I did Quaker Oz, and I ended up carrying it over to do Muggle Studies because I was really close to a page finish after I finished my 200. So I just said, you know what, we're going to go for a page finish, and that got me a little over 400, about 500 stitches. So I had the monkey and the little gingham pattern there. So I'm a third of the way done, because it's 6 pages and I've done 2 of 6. So, there we go. This is by Ori TM. It is out of print. For those, because I've had a couple of people ask. I do have a friend of mine who's wanting to stitch it, so when I'm done, I will be sending it over to them to stitch. But because it's Wizard of Oz, it will be, once they're done, it's coming back to me, and it will stay in my collection, because it's Wizard of Oz. So, I'm sorry if you were interested and wanted it when I was done with it, it's not happening. So, alright, so this week's homework assignments, let me pull them up in the Book of Face. Where is the Book of Face? You can tell I don't use my iPad for much more than Dropbox. Here we go, bulletin board notices. So we have 3 different parts, one of which is bonus. So for part 1, in celebration of the 11 Death Eaters that were captured at the Department of Ministries, we're to work on the 11th whip in our whip album for 300 stitches, which in my case happens to be Search the Sky. So it's getting a little extra love. So I'm going to turn it the right direction first. So we're going to work on I'm going to finish up, that'll definitely finish up the house and the snow under it, and probably the trees. So, that's going to be kind of the plan there. Part 2, Umbridge has gone back to the ministry to answer for her horribleness. So, we get to stitch 300 colors in any color other than pink. And then we're supposed to do, for a bonus 5 points, 400 stitches in honor of the Weasley twins' 5th floor practical joke. Which, we missed the Weasley twins already, especially me, because of George. So I'm going to actually do Universal Monsters. I'm actually going to work on it today, so that won't be part of the homework. So it'll be 400 stitches. Hopefully, because I'm hoping I'll finish this one today, hopefully of Creature from the Black Lagoon. He starts over there. What I've been doing is every time I'll do one stitch, or I'll do one length of one color, and then I'll work on the black. So my 300 stitches will be black. So I'm going to try and work over, at least get the top room up here done. So that way when I move over here, because I'm not going to be able to work on that one once we're over there. So, okay. So there we go. He's exciting. So, yeah. And I've got a couple of changes planned. One you can sort of see down there. That when it gets backstitched will be more apparent what I've done. So I'm excited for that. So, anyhow, that's it for me this week. Looking forward to a good week of stitching next week. We'll see where it takes us. So I hope everyone has a fabulous week, and I'll see y'all next time.